Okay, guys, here I've got my scale here because I think this time I'm going to weigh it just to show you how we can weigh it as well. And you don't need this particular scale. This is my kind of cosmetic scale, so it's a kind of heavy duty one. You can use a kitchen scale because you're going to go with regular grams. So I just wanted to show you another way of doing it. Obviously, the easiest way is to use some sort of container. Use parts. When you're using parts, you know, just use the one container or half the container as the part. And for 75% at the 100 or almost 100 alcohol, it's 3 to 1. So it's 3 parts alcohol to 1 part, let's say, of the aloe. Okay, 75%, 25%, give or take. Okay, that 1%, it falls well between that 60 and 80% of alcohol in, let's say, your sanitizer. Okay, so that's by far the easiest way. But of course, you know, you may have different kinds of alcohol in the house and different types of alcohol that you may want to buy. Like, not everybody likes to put, you know, isopropyl on your skin, and it's definitely used in the medical field. I mean, obviously for a quick, when you get an injection or something like that. You don't generally use it for perfume, although people have, and you know, some home crafters and whatnot. I mean, it is safe. But it's less natural. So some people like grain alcohol. That's actually a little harder to find. There's kind of a few types of alcohol that you can get, and that's called isopropyl that we were just doing. The other thing you can get that's a little more readily available, including in Canada, is denatured alcohol. Okay, denatured alcohol. That's the kind that they often put into cosmetics and into perfumes as well, which is actually ethyl alcohol. It's the kind that you would drink. The difference why it's denatured, or known as alcohol denat on the ingredient list, is because they put a wood alcohol methanol into it so that you don't drink it. Okay, which makes this whole bottle a lot cheaper. And I get it at Voyageur Soap and Candle, which is on the West Coast. They have a lot of great supplies, and I get this big huge bottle, which is 4 liters. Now, you probably don't need 4 liters. They come in a liter bottle as well, and that comes in handy. So you're getting a little closer to something a bit more natural, although there is a wood grain in there, you know, that, as I said, in a smaller percentage, that makes it non-drinkable. And the wood grain is not as potent in alcohol, and it has different properties, but it's mostly your ethyl alcohol. The other way to get the ethanol type of alcohol is grain alcohol that you can drink. So in other words, they don't put the stuff in it that makes it undrinkable. And therefore, it's far more expensive. You can get it in the States a lot easier under the name of Everclear. You used to be able to get like Alcool in Canada. I can't find anything like that. Now, I have seen the Everclear in Alberta online. It's pretty expensive. It's like $35 for like $7.50, and it's because it's drinkable. Now, it's the most natural kind of alcohol that you can get, and you definitely, and it would be, and there's a proof to that, and usually it's around 150 or 190, which is pretty darn close to your 100. Okay, and there is a way to calculate that, but for all intent and purposes, you know, it's a little more natural than something like isopropyl. So if that concerns you, then, you know, you could try and source that, but I don't think it's going to be that easy, at least if you're in Canada, to get the grain. I have yet to source something pure like that, even just for myself, that is at some sort of reasonable cost. But this denatured, like this 4 liter, I can't remember, it was maybe $30 for all of this, right? And I can make a lot of products out of that. And so this is a really good option, and anything that has alcohol in it, I often use that instead of isopropyl. So does this exist right now at a cosmetic store? Like if you go and look at Voyageur Soap and Candle? Yes, it does. Okay. So far, they still have this stuff, and it probably won't run out that soon if you want to get something that isn't isopropyl. But for now, this is probably the easiest to source, okay? And I mean, you're not going to be using it for the rest of your life, so I really wouldn't worry about it. We are kind of in a bit of a crisis mode. But if you wanted to make your hand sanitizer in the future, then you might want to get a different alcohol, okay? So typically we have the difference between isopropyl and ethanol alcohol, and or the grain, which is also ethyl alcohol. However, you know, it's drinkable, okay, and thus far more expensive because it falls under that Canadian, you know, alcohol law that, you know, we get to pay through our teeth with. Now, can you use vodka or something like that? Okay, now vodka, those kinds of alcohols are 40 proof. So, you know what? If you want to sanitize your hands, pour some vodka on your hands. That's probably, like, I wouldn't mix it, okay? It doesn't have, you know, really enough to get your 60 to 80% in. If you have 70% alcohol, and I just kind of wrote this down so you can see it. Let's see, this is the top. Yes, this is the top. I wrote this down. Basically, when you're purchasing alcohol, especially like with the isopropyl, they'll always give you a percentage of how much alcohol there is by weight or volume. And so we need to look at, every formula is 100%. And I'm trying to explain this to you so you can kind of figure out if it's 70% or 92%, what that kind of means. So 100% could therefore mean 100 grams or 100 milliliters. You know, 100 is really easy to work with versus ounces. You know, that's a 12 system. I usually just, you know, divide it all up and make it 100 because it's just easier to calculate, actually. And that's actually how most formulas are calculated, by percentage, and hence easier to weigh and get an exact amount on even your kitchen scale. So if we buy a bottle and it says 70% alcohol, and in that bottle there's a certain amount of mils, and it doesn't matter that it's 500, but it's based on a 100% recipe. So, and they don't give you the percentages because that's their formulas. And with alcohol, it doesn't really matter because there's usually not a lot of other things in it other than water. That's the typical dilution. So 70 of the 100 to be 70% is alcohol. Okay. And of course, we have all our different types of alcohol, but let's say in our isopropyl, and what it says on there, it's 70%. That's what we bought at the dollar store or something. So what is the difference to 100? It's 30. 70 plus 30 equals 100. That means it's 30 of other stuff. 30. Okay, 30. 70 plus 30 is 100. Okay. The question is, do we want to, you know, dilute that further? Okay. At 70%, we're right in the middle between 60 and 80. If that's, you know, let's say our target of alcohol, you theoretically could just use that 70% alcohol on your hands, maybe put a few drops of like the essential oils in there, and away you go. And yes, it's going to be drying, but oh well, do we really want to dilute it more? Probably not at this point. Cream your hands afterwards. If you're using a lot of it, just make sure you moisturize, you know, when you're using alcohol a little more often at this point. But you could bring it down to, let's say, a 60%. And that's fine, you know, 60, 62%. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get 62% unless you had a scale, okay? So, and in fact, 60% can be a bit harder to measure even with these kinds of containers. So we want to make it easy. But just so that you understand how to do it, and if you do have a scale, if you wanted to put a touch of moisturizer in with a 70% alcohol, you're going to have very little flexibility, because let's say our lowest number is 60, 70 minus 10 is 60, right? Okay, 70 minus 10 is 60, and that's the lowest approximately we would like to have for this hand sanitizer situation. In other situations, we don't need to necessarily have that much. Alcohol preserves and kind of does a disinfectant at lower percentages as well. But for this situation, we were trying to keep it in that range. So therefore, at 100, if we minus that 10, because that's all the leeway we've got to get it to 60, that gives us 90. Okay, that gives us 90. So if we go back to the 100 that we're making, our formula, not what we've purchased anymore, we need 90% of the alcohol that's 70%. Okay, in order to make it 70, to make it actually 60%. And 10% out of 100 can be that gel. So 90 plus 10 equals 100. But because that alcohol is not 100%, it's only 70%, we're actually getting a 60% formula. So in other words, whatever our formula is that we put into our bottle is going to be 60%. And as you remember in our last video, this one was 75. Hence the reason to try and get 99%. Or you're not going to have a problem. You're going to have a lot of flexibility here if instead of this being 70, it's 96, I mean, we're only talking about, 4% or 3% more because this is actually 99. So you're going to be well in the range here, and you could calculate it the same way. So really, you want to be somewhere in the 90s if you can. And just remember, this is what's going to happen. As I say, I would not suggest this kind of calculation with vodka. And vodka and grain... and some of the other grain alcohols that have less alcohol in it are great for, tinctures and all kinds of things. And we actually dilute that. And it's far less than, the 60 to 80. But we're actually using this for a very specific reason here. And I actually, for this purpose, am trying to get, kind of closer to this idea of medical grade. Okay, so that you actually have a really good sanitizer, and in these difficult times, feel really, really comfortable that, you are getting, the kind of percentage. And you can see 70% is fine. The reason I went with 75 with the parts is just because it's easier for you to measure it in parts. Okay, so that's basically a quick little lesson on the different kinds of alcohol. And some people get concerned by oh, it's isopropyl, I don't want to use it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, use it for your disinfecting for sure, on doorknobs, because just really good. And the alcohol Denat, that's the kind that I say to use for perfumes and other cosmetics, it's a little more expensive than that, but you're not going to run into any problems, and you're not using it day in, day out for the rest of your life. Okay, I hope that answers all the questions on alcohol, the types of alcohol. It's a quick one, but it's important, and I know people sometimes get worried about that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I think I said in my last video tether, but it's tear your scale. I'll correct that. And that's just making it go to 0, let's say. And I mean, you can kind of see it here, and it's weighing my container here, and I'm just gonna tear it again, and then it will go to 0. And pretty well every scale has that. Okay, so I'm just gonna move that back a little bit, okay, so that we can be in frame. Okay, so this time, what am I gonna do? I am actually going to use the ethyl alcohol, and I'm just going to make it like 100, because 100 is, more than this, actually, more than this jar. So, I don't know, I'm saying jar, bottle, more than that bottle. Okay, so I'm going to do, let's say, I could do 70 and 30 and make it a nice 70% one, just like the medical grade, or I can make it 80%. So you know what, I'll make, what do I want to do? I don't really care. Doesn't really matter. I think I'm going to make it, 80. So what do I need to do? I need to put 80 grams. This is in grams, so put it into your metric. And you can't see it here, so let me move it. So I don't know if you can see this. It already says 25. So this is nice because you have it all in one container. So this is where you can get your 62%. Now, you're not going to probably have 0.84, like that kind of detail and accuracy, but, you know, that's okay in this kind of situation. Not a problem at all. So, okay. So right now, I am... Okay. So here's 60. That would be enough. Okay, that would be enough. And there's the beauty of weighing. And let's say I don't have a lot of my alcohol left, right? So there we go. There's 60, and then we want to dilute it. Theoretically, you could dilute it with water, okay? You don't even have to use gel, okay? You could use water. But the gel is just a little bit nicer. So now I'm going to just put 20 more in. So as you can see, I could do 65, 62, whatever it is I've got. Oh, there's 70. Okay, this is dripping. Usually I don't do it this way. I have a better container. There's enough. 79. Okay, now this one I actually decanted from that other one. You see it says alcohol Denat on there. I just used the bottle, so it's not the same. Okay, and now we have, and now you see I don't even have to tare. I could tare it now down to, you know, tare it and then put 20 in there because this is 80, but I don't need to do that. I can, well, I just did. I could just actually make it go to 100 and then I'm more or less correct. So let's just, oops. Now I do have to make sure it's at 20. Let's see, I'm gonna try and keep myself in frame here. Oops. 13. This does not have to be exact as other kinds of things that one might get into or making, you know, because it's not gonna really matter. So that's 21, that's fine. And now we do exactly the same. Okay, we stir. Okay, so that's already 100. Most formulas you would include any of your essential oils in that 100, but again, this doesn't actually have to be that exact, okay? So I'm just gonna move this out of the way. Get that over there so that we can carry on with this. Okay, now we're gonna do exactly the same as the last time. Now, if you weigh your essential oils, it would be good to try to keep it somewhere around, because let's say we were doing this in grams, somewhere between, you know, 1 and 2, like of all your essential oils. Typically, with fragrance and stuff, we'll use 0.5. But, you know, everybody that likes to do drops, I usually weigh them. So, you know, somewhere in the area of 1% is fine. Or 1.5, even a little bit more. Sometimes, you know, you just need a couple more drops to make it smell better. So you can leave it on the scale and do that. Now you can see it's dissolving, okay? It's dissolving. In fact, why don't we put it back on the scale just while we're here. And this time I am going to tare it. Okay, and I'm going to put a few essential oils. I'm going to go to give or take 1.1%. So I'm going to put a touch of orange in here. Smells so good. This is sweet orange. And oops, let's tare it. So you can actually measure, you know, your drops. So you can see the drops. Do you see? I don't know if you see that. They're kind of, they're floating there, the yellow drops at the top, because the orange has a color in it. So So my scale's pretty accurate that way. I can get, but I'm gonna go like point. See, look at that much orange is 0.4. That's not even 1%. That's quite a few drops, right? So I like the orange. And we could do lemon. I like a little bit of rosemary. Ooh, that always smells good with orange. So, you know, I'm just gonna put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's, I have it at 0.5. That's just a few drops. Maybe I'm gonna put a bit of peppermint in there. That's nice too. Now we're at 0.6 or so. I'm just doing this so it kind of gives you a sense of, you know, how many drops I'm already putting in. And maybe a touch of tea tree. I'm at 0.7. So, you know, I've been doing about 5 to 10 drops of some of these. Some of them are more potent than others. Now I'm at 0.8. And maybe I'll just shove a touch of lemon in here. Yeah. This doesn't have the dropper on it. There we go. And that's 1. Okay, and now that's 1%. And I could actually put a little bit more in there because if your essential oils are within that range, that is not a problem at all. It's very safe. Therapeutically, you know, you might go up a little higher, but and lavender and tea tree you can just use straight, and chamomile. So those 3 are not a problem at all to put as much as you want in there, you know, because you can use it right straight on your skin. Usually, most people do not have a reaction. Okay. And you sometimes have to let it sit a bit. The alcohol smell kind of dissipates a little bit. Of course, when you bottle it up. But it will dissipate, and then you will get more of the scent. Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay. So you can see the flecks look a little different. This kind of alcohol is just a touch different how it dissolves the same gel that we had. It actually dissolves a little bit more. So that alcohol Denat that I have dissolves it a little bit more. And the precipitate is a bit bigger. So again, now that is totally dissolving. We do not see any of that red or orange really from the oil. And it's totally dissolved in there. I'm just having a smell whether I like it. Now, if you don't like the smell, you can bottle it, and just like in the last one, add a drop or 2 of, you know, a different little mixture that you might like better into the bottle, right? So no problem. But if you want to kind of keep track of approximately what you use, if you're just using lavender because you like lavender, then no big deal. Just use, you know, 20 drops of lavender, see how that smells. If you need a couple more, add a bit more in there, okay? Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay, so now we have to do the exact same thing. I don't know if I need to show you that, but let's show it to you in a smaller little bottle like this. Okay, and then we're just putting our thing back in there. And again, I would let this normally sit just a touch longer, okay? There's a bit of precipitate that's hanging around. In fact, just a little bit longer would be better, but I'm not going to bother, and I am letting that bottom stuff stay. Now, if your bottle is not clear, yeah, okay, that's about half the bottle. You got to be careful. Okay, just a little more because I can't see. There we go. Okay, just a touch more. Okay, there we go. So this is oops, that's too much. I I can see that already. Okay. You want to kind of get to give or take this neck, because if you put something in it anyways, if you're only putting something on top, like one of these, okay, then you could fill it up a bit more. But if you want to put it in a spray, and these little 1 ounce bottles are great for a spray, and I'm just going to show you how to cut it. It's not the best scissors, but let's get this one. Okay, my scissors are on the other side of the room. Okay, so as you can see, I'm here. Okay, I could have done this before, by the way. And here's the bottom. So I'm gonna cut it like this. Keep this if you have something that's longer, and put it in a nice plastic bag, because if you ever want to reuse it, or this one the one that you have goes, you can just stick this one back in and cut it again. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can just clean it with some alcohol. So now, got a nice short one, literally 1 ounce, or 30 mils, give or take. The other regular size that you get is double this, which is, 60 mils. Sorry, and I should say this is 2 ounce. Okay. Right. So there we go. There's our little guy, and then we can undo it and put it on our hands. See, so a spray works kind of really nice that way. Like I say, not so great to spray. I like it. I might actually adjust the smell of that, but here it is. I can actually pour it back in here, and adjust that. Just wanted to show you quickly how a little top. Sorry, I need one that fits. This one fits really nicely. I'm going to use these for a couple of bottles anyway. So here's a non spray. So this one and the disc, kind of work the same way, more or less. But, make sure you close it so it doesn't leak. So that works really well, right? Now, my hands do feel a bit dry, they do, because it's 80%. I don't really have that, too much of that gel stuff in there, okay? So be aware of it. And like I say, just cream well and moisturize your skin more. Even if you're using medical grade and other ones, they are very drying on your skin. Yeah, sometimes go take a look at a nurse's hands. It's not so great. So you definitely want to moisturize as much as you can once you get home and do that kind of thing. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I hope I explained everything and answered different questions for different people's concerns. And that's the only reason. But basically, we do it the same way, either in the parts, and try to use maybe just the easiest, like the 3 parts to 1 part, 3 parts alcohol to, let's say, 1 part gel, when you get something pretty darn close to 99%, 97% alcohol. Or if you buy the Denat at the Voyageur. And if you don't, then follow the principle. And if you're around 70%, you might want to just add a few essential oils with that for now, because you've already got the 30% water in there that's already diluted. Okay. So that's it. I wish you well in all of this, and stay safe. And I think this will help you stay safe. So you take care. Bye.